Tape was in.
Call a meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. The pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Because I sent one to Tanya. I thought she passed away.
Oh, I'll write that down and be my.
The youth and seniors?
What are you doing?
I said I sent one to you.
Yeah, they're in the pack. Yeah.
Oh, they're in the pack.
Yeah.
You Raymond. Less than mine.
Yes, I am.
Whatever.
Okay, we're going to deviate from our
If there's any
regular
pack, no need.
order of business tonight because Mr. Fuller has a responsibility that his wife expects him to meet. I won't go into it any farther than that.
I appreciate that.
We'll let everybody wonder just what that is. But
Yeah.
that's, we will start with an invitation for anybody in the public that would like to speak. Mr. Pravorsnik.
First of all, we're having grounds and
Building and grounds?
Yes, it's going to be the following Tuesday that it normally is because everybody's on break next week, Albert.
but I just wanted you to know that we're having a meeting with the Upper Falls Improvement Committee on the 15th at 9 o'clock at my house.
The 15th?
Yep. We kind of go around the mill manager, that. And Lieutenant Elthorpe's got a lot of stuff to tell us, he said.
Okay.
And the other thing I want to talk about is, you've probably been reading in the newspapers about all these trains going down to our section here in North Country. And a lot of these older cars are very susceptible to being ruptured. And they tried years ago to get posts up on all these little rural crossings where you don't have anything, you just cross them at your own risk.
Yes.
And they try to get at least a post there with a light on it, which would show you quarter mile this way, quarter mile that way, that there's a train on the track. You see that red light on, and you stop. So I thought maybe our supervisor and our councilman get together with other supervisors and councilmen in the North Country here and see if they could mandate the railroad company, whatever the company it is, and to do this, to get this done.
Could I give you an answer to that?
Yes.
One step ahead of you, maybe two. I've already directed Chief Johns and Judge Dalbeck to get me a list of all the private crossings in Ticonderoga. That's going to be combined with the rest of the towns going north in Essex County that have private crossings. The Board of Supervisors is going to take this. It has to go to Department of Transportation. They're the ones that make the determination of what needs to happen. And they did it, it's been done once in the town of Mariah because they had permanent residents on the off-board side of the tracks that they were crossing to a permanent residence. If it's a camp or somebody's fishing spot, whatever, they won't, then you're not going to see it happen. But if it's a year-round residence, there's a possibility that we can get it done. And we're working on that right now.
Right? Good enough. Sounds good to me.
Okay. Anyone else? That being the case, I suppose we'll let Mr. Fuller fulfill his marital duties here.
I appreciate it very much. Just following up on the month, we've been busy. I know the report may not seem that long, but we've got a bunch of things going on. We did get up at the end of March and meet with public safety, and we're working on revisions to that CO local law. And I know that there's some talk about some parking stuff too, so we'll look at that when that comes in. But the main thing I wanted to focus on was the meeting we had yesterday to talk about the water project and some of the policy things that are going to sit here before this board here in the not too distant future.
Okay, before you get into the meat of this,
Yep.
I want to give out a little background to it so that everybody's aware. One of the grants for the water project has brought to the front the fact that for decades, the town of Ticonderoga has, I hate to say improperly, but in a happenstance manner, run their water department. They have granted exemptions to some people and not to others. There are hundreds of irregularities in the assignment of units, user units and whatnot, particularly among vacant lots that have been adjoined to another property, but not legally joined to that property, and properties that are under agriculture exemptions. Ag property can be sitting in the middle of a water district, and it is not to be charged, okay? But the density in that, if it were to change from ag, say someone has a 50-acre pasture or piece of tillable ground, whatever it is, sitting in an ag district, and the zoning says that you could put 50 units on there, that parcel should be assigned 50 units at no charge because it's an ag district. If it changes, if the owner changes that to a residential subdivision, then they're going to pay water bills on 50 units. That's, you know, and there's hundreds of instances similar to this. That's what we were discovering yesterday. We went through that, trying to adjust all that. We've identified most of the units by parcel number. We're in the process of putting names to them and breaking them out so that we can begin to send letters to the individual owners to begin to address this problem. But it's got to be rectified, it's got to be fixed, or we're not going to get any financing for any type of project because of the way, if you do districts, if you do sewer, water, any kind of district that improves a section of the town, you've got to distribute the debt for the improvements that you do. And that's why we need all these numbers and all these units to base that debt on an equal basis so that people are charged fairly.
You hit it right on the head. Those, and there are going to be, hopefully, a narrow number of lots that we've got to take a look at, because I know Sue and Jen have been working on it a lot, to decide how we're going to deal with those lots in terms of assessing EDUs, because as Bill said, a lot of them may not have been treated similarly to their neighbors, and that's really, they've gotten a benefit. It's going to be difficult. Some people may not be entirely happy with it because they've been getting a benefit at their neighbor's expense, but I think the town has done a lot of work in the last couple of weeks to identify all those parcels. There are about 7 pages on the spreadsheet, so you can imagine that's.
And these are parcels that have been combined?
A bunch of different things, some that have been combined. Basically, I think we identified 3 different scenarios. Some that are in a district that choose not to get water, that could, but nonetheless they're benefited. If you've got from the standpoint of this, if you've got a hydrant in front of your house, ask your insurance company. You've been benefited. I'll tell you myself, my wife and I's house, we aren't anywhere near a hydrant or water service. Our insurance is through the roof every year. Well, we have to pay. If we had simply a hydrant out front, it would be a third.
But these are districts that have already been formed,
Yes.
that plan report, and they're already running operations.
And then
So
subsequently,
So
people
how-
came in, like to the committee meetings, even, right when I started getting involved, they would come in and ask for a reduction for, a vacant unit or things like that. Things happen over the years where basically people said, yes, we will give you an exemption.
So if you're in a district where a pipe runs by, you're
benefited.
and you're going to be assessed that only?
Well, no, the question becomes, the question becomes, we have to look at the map plan report and make sure that those parcels are properly assessed, whatever unit. Like, for example, if you're not connected, sometimes it may be a half or 3/4 or whatever the map plan report and the policy of the board is. Can't be arbitrary, it has to be rational, but they're assessed something for that benefit. That's one class of properties, that they're in a district, they choose not to have water. The other is in a district but can't possibly get water. There were some parcels that were put in a district that aren't serviced. They aren't billed and we can't service them. We don't even have a line that would run to them. So those parcels, I think we're just going to leave because they're not benefited.
So when these people are brought in, put in the district, will it not then become subject to permissive referendum, the whole
We're not-
district? You're not reforming the district?
No, we're not talking about outside users right
This
now.
is an existing district you're working with.
All we're
Yes.
dealing with is all of them. These
Existing
irregularities.
districts.
Yes.
Existing district.
Every single one of them has these little issues.
Okay, so how do we bring them in the district after the district has been?
They're already in.
They're in the district?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're just not being billed for whatever reason.
Okay, we're okay then.
So again, the first one is
All right.
in the district, could have service, chooses not to. The second is in the district, couldn't have service and isn't paying or anything. Those people are fine. The other is in a district, doesn't yet have service, but could going forward. Again, the idea of if somebody's subdivided a big lot,
Councilman out there, so
you know,
don't
they-
do that, don't do that.
that line can simply be extended and those people can get service. A lot of those are agricultural lands and things like that. And the reason, Bill hit it right on the head, the reason we need to address these is the initial report that, the spreadsheet that came back from EFC had about half of the town's actual usage on it because of these reasons. Because when they look at that spreadsheet, they see, you might have 5 parcels that should have some sort of use allocated to them that don't. Because it's all one.
right.
They've been
So-
exempted, they've been given halves, they've been somehow adjusted, they've been combined. That was the other thing we dealt with, is parcels are just
So
combined.
is that potentially going to impact the amount we're permitted to take from the water?
Not necessarily permitted, but of what our need is.
Oh, I see.
Because need's gonna go to the right? So right now, the number that first came out was about 700,000 gallons a day. We're double that.
Which is, yeah, we're way over.
So flawed.
I mean, it's not even close. And what Mr. Fuller's being very polite about saying and dancing around is that a good deal of the issues that we're looking at are political. The exemptions that have been given were given by prior boards, mostly for political reasons. And it's got to get fixed. And we're the lucky ones that are going to get to do it. Whether we want to or not, if we're going to have a water project, we've got to fix it. It's that simple.
Well, in the days of having a vacant unit and coming in and asking for a reduction until it's filled, you know, those days, you're not going to be able to afford to do that. Your people that are paying the debt on these improvements, not going to be able to do that, because ultimately, that comes back on them. So it's really a fairness question, and I grant you, it's not going to be easy. There are going to be some that have been really getting an extremely good deal. I'm not going to say it's going to skyrocket, it won't, it'll just be fair. And it'll come back to the board with a recommendation of how you fix it. I think we made a ton of headway yesterday in going through those issues. The other is we've got the FEMA deadline coming up tomorrow that for getting projects in related to the last storm. And Todd's working on getting something put together in for Gooseneck to make sure that stays on the project list.
The dam
Okay.
at Gooseneck.
Yeah. Keep that on.
We
the
sent out some documentation on that last week.
Yeah. That gets into the whole ownership with dealing with DEC and that kind of stuff. So I think probably the last 2 months or so we've made more progress on this stuff than we've made in a couple of years. So it's difficult. They're not easy decisions. As I've said a bunch of times, you're making 100-year decisions right now. 100 years ago when the town dealt with Gooseneck, they made these same decisions, and you've been fine since then. Now things have been delayed a few years, about 20 years, and here you are. But I think everybody's got a good grasp on where we need to get, and we're going to get there.
The one thing that the board needs to address is, is the how. We can choose a committee. We can do it as a board. But we need to get it done. That's the issue. It's got to get corrected quickly. We are way behind. This should have been done years ago. And it's been kicked down the road, kicked down the road. Time's up. I don't know how else to put it. Time's up. If we're going to have a water project, we have got to do this now.
And the new bond council concurs with us?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Doug and I.
Absolutely.
So
The engineers, Mr. Fuller, and the bond counselor are all in agreement that this has to be done now.
So this committee or whoever will decide what rate for what? Yeah.
No,
Not rates. Rates are just a subject of math.
no.
No.
The committee is going to decide,
Abandoned house, nothing on the property, how you're going to build this. That's what I'm saying about
Yes.
rates. How you're going to charge for,
Bill, the scenario I use
yeah,
is this.
all right, then we're going to, okay, they're going to decide usage. The committee's going to decide usage. Then we've got to look at the usage and set the rate for that usage. We've got to look at the district, the particular district, and decide how we're going to assess the debt for that district to that district. Because you can't intermingle the debt.
In the past, what was done, the main district did a lot of the borrowing and then build it out to outside districts. That's not going to happen.
So,
It's going to be allocated amongst the districts properly.
how long do you expect this will take to clean up?
Which part? There's two parts to that. One is the immediate part to get the plan into EFC will be done by June. We will have that plan in.
Has to be.
And that's a sprint.
so if you have,
Has to be.
That's what I'm talking
8
about.
weeks out.
Yeah,
so if you have 5 acres,
yes.
now, what are you gonna, how many parcels are you gonna put on that?
Depends on the zoning.
Okay, so.
If you can subdivide that into 1 acre parcels, you're going to have 5 units.
Right.
If you can only have a 5 acre parcel, you're going to have 1 unit.
There's two different talks there. One is in terms of usage, right? Because here's what Bill's getting to. If somebody subdivided this lot, okay, if they got all the approvals, then any wetland issues or anything like that, and they are in the district and they could create 5 lots, then legally, because they've been in the district all these years, we're obligated to supply them water. Now, they have to tap in, they've got to get lines to it. We don't have to run the line. The developer has to do that. But we have to have the capacity on hand to supply them water. It's part of our comprehensive plan.
I understand that.
So that's from a usage standpoint. Now, from a how do I get billed standpoint, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to end up with 5 units billed to you. That's the discussion that you have.
That's the other side. That's
Right.
another issue.
Exactly.
So,
The first thing we've got to do is come up with the possible units.
Right.
so we gotta.
Then we've got to come up with what we're going to actually bill each parcel.
So you're basically doing the
So-
same thing that was done in the past.
No, we're fixing it.
You're saying, geez, there's a house there, but nobody's living in it, so that'll be less usage, so
No,
that's basically what's been done over the years.
No,
they won't.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, they won't. It's going to fix those things. When you have a map plan and report, you don't generally have the authority to go back in and start dropping them.
so we need to work with the zoning.
What's going to happen is, if you try doing it that way,
I,
the EFC is going to say, sorry,
Yeah.
that's no better than what you had, and you don't get any money. You've got to do it fairly and equitably. It's almost, the EFC is almost becoming another arm of the controller's office
exactly.
in regards to that. And that's, that's how it works.
curious how you do that. Okay, got it.
So everybody,
So
everybody's getting
we need
water
to
from
work
town
with the
will
zoning
be
board as well
in a
as,
district.
no?
We've got our zoning. We know
Oh,
what the
okay,
zoning
all
is.
right, all right. We gotta know our zoning, that's all.
Say that again, Wayne.
Everybody that's getting water from the town will then have to be in a district.
Not necessarily. That's round 2 to the fix.
Well, that's round
The
two.
first part is getting an accurate accounting into EFC of what we use and what we need, what our capacity is, what we have to have. The second part of the equation is eventually, not all of them, but as many as possible, yes, you will extend or somehow get groups of properties. So if you've got 15 properties that are in one area and they're all out of district users right now, then yes, the suggestion would be to get them into a district. And going forward, the policy of the town would likely be, or it would come from a recommendation from those of us that you retain, would be to have some threshold that says, okay, you got one out of district user, fine. When you get to 2, 3, 4, 5, no, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to have an extension to the district. It's a very simple extension of the map plan report, your public hearing, get them in, so that you're not dealing with these issues anymore. The next time you have to do something, you've got the numbers. We don't have to go reinvent these spreadsheets. The other thing we talked about is combining parcels. Right now, it just happens. Believe it or not, a lot of times, there's supposed to be a form you have to sign. If I property owner want to come in, combine my parcel, there's a process to that. It goes to the county, it's done here locally, but parcels have just been combined. And what that does is, that impacts your users. You know, if I own a property and I buy the one next door, I've got 2 lots. I've got the one I live in and the one I just bought next door. It's still 2 lots. If I want to build on that property, give it to a kid or sell it to somebody else, the town's going to have to give me water for that lot. I give it to me, I pay for it, but I would be entitled to connect to the line in that spot. That's a benefit. Right now, when they combine, all they're getting assessed is 1 unit. So when you do your budgeting and things like this, and you're coming up with the rate per user, that's based on your lots that you have. All of your districts were based on the lots that you have, okay? When those lots get combined, that basically messes up that equation, because now you've got less users. When you formed that district and when you did your financing, you were based on this many users, this many parcels. That was your base. You've eliminated them. So if you think about it, you're cutting the users without the budget. So that means people pay more for combined parcels. The other thing is what happens is, and what we have found on the maps is, parcels outside of districts get combined with parcels inside of districts. So if I have a piece of land, I buy, when you combine lands, nobody's looking at the district lines, okay? And even in some subdivisions, nobody looks at the water district lines. So when you combine those parcels, you end up with a parcel number, and if you go through the 7 pages of lists, there are parcel numbers that were combined where out-of-district lands have been combined with the in-district tax map number. So then if you go back to the discussion I just had, if you subdivide that land, is that land entitled to water? You don't know, because you've got land that was a different tax map number that's now been combined with land inside of the district. Somebody could argue, oh, it's the same tax map number that was on this map plan and report. I'm entitled to water now. They're really out of district.
And this can all be dealt with in one fell swoop.
Oh, no. It's a little bit of a process. But when I said talk about the 100 units,
You should have been in my pocket for the last week and a half.
you're never going to clean every single thing up. You're just not going to get there. What you want to do is put the town in the best position that it is, because this is a large project, and you're dealing with fixing things that went on and getting it back to square.
But them that has the goal will make the rules. What is EFC going to be find acceptable in terms of just the fact that we're in the process of doing it? Will that?
No,
They want it done.
no, we've got to have the
A justification.
the user units have got to be adjusted to accurately show our usage by,
So here's what happens when you talk about EFC. When they look at the number of units you have, right? If a vacant lot is assessed to half, a house is 1, they look at those units for billing purposes. But then for usage purposes, you've got to look at it as 1 and 1, because a house could be built there, and they're going to use, if it's bedrooms, bathrooms, times 140 gallons, or whatever the number is, we have to have that on hand.
But there was, I mean, how do you account for the people who let their water run all winter? I mean, that's all total gallons that doesn't get.
We don't get
captured
credit for that.
in the unit, the EDU number.
we don't get credit for that.
We don't get credit for that.
So, I mean, but It's reality. I mean, it has to.
I know it is, but we don't, we had that very discussion yesterday, and we don't. And if you think about it, that's an end run around forcing the policy of having meters, because you don't get credit for that. Absolutely talked about a couple of developments where they do that. Because they have pipe freezing problems, they run it in the winter. You don't get credit for that water, unfortunately. So we need to have as accurate a number as we possibly can.
We can't afford to lose anything else.
Exactly. You hit it right on the head.
Do we need a resolution?
We need to know our usage number as high as we can, not to inflate it. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to give them a realistic number of the water we use and what we have to account for. Because if they say, that we're talking about Whitehall's got that problem, where when it was figured out how much that water they needed, it was actually way less. They're running out of water. We're not going to be in that position. People have learned from that, and we're not going to put the town in that position.
You hear Derek say $1.5 million,
Yeah.
you know, and we're nowhere, we're half that, what we're showing, so.
Not even, yeah.
And we're burning through a lot of water. Is that reservoir down to 10 feet? I mean, we're using.
But it leaks a lot.
It doesn't matter, we're still, that water's going somewhere, we have to have it, you know, so.
So that's.
I don't think, the crux of the issue to me is the number of units that we have in place. We've got to get that list correct. That's number one. And that's what we need to move forward with. And whether we do it as a board, whether we do it as a committee, you know, what's the board's pleasure? Do you all want to be involved in this, or do you want to have a committee, a smaller committee, go through and do it and get it done and present it to the board?
We need to get it done. Definitely need to get it done. Time-wise, I'm having issues now, so as a board, it would be difficult for me to be, and we need to get this done, so I would move to having it done somehow.
But there is a way that's not arbitrary. I mean, there's a way, a scientific way to do this.
There is.
Okay.
Yes.
You're already well down that path. Yesterday, we did a lot of, that was a lot of decisions were made of how to come about this number.
So you're going to have to notify all these people that they're.
Eventually.
Eventually, yes.
I would like to see
Give Bill's phone number?
No. No, we're going to invite them to a local restaurant.
Have a barbecue and spring this up.
Yeah, the barbecue.
Check your weapons at the door.
If we form a small committee to do this, I would like to have one of the board members oversee it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think the message I want to have is people shouldn't be alarmed. When you start talking about units and things like that, people get afraid that their bills are going to skyrocket. That's not.
This could act, there's going to be some people that have combined units that are probably going to pay a little more. It wouldn't surprise me if people that haven't, because of the number of units we're going to pick up, you may even see a slight decrease. I can't guarantee you that, but it's a possibility.
Relatively, yeah.
Yes.
Wayne, the other issue, the other question about out-of-district users, I don't want to leave you with, why would you bring out-of-district users in? They need water, right? There's no question, they get the benefit, they're not paying less, they're not getting a deal by being out of the district. Nobody is. And that's, some people think that out there, and I've heard people come into meetings and say that. That's not true. There's no deal being outside of the district. What happens is, when EFC is looking at this, right, in terms of our usage, and what our hardship is, if you think you need $2 million a year to run your water, whatever the number is, they take the revenue that those people pay and they knock that number down, right? So they use the revenue against you because it's money you have to pay your bills. But they don't give you any credit or take into account the amount of water those people use because they're not in the district. You have a lot of out-of-district users. So you're getting hit both ways if you think about it. If you do the amount of money you have versus the amount of gallons you need, you're really getting kicked twice.
That finance guy, that Chris Rienzo with the EFC, he had said to me what his concern was that we couldn't use service contracts, non-existent service contracts to collateralize our loan.
That's right.
You know, he said there's no way to, you only hope you have is to recover that civilly, and it's not a, he said I can't use it to.
There's no lien authority.
Yeah.
That's right. And that's how they use it. That's why they take the revenue, but they can't, under that, the spreadsheet, the scenario they use, they can't legally take those people into account because they're just contract users. Somebody could breach a contract, somebody could terminate. Once you're in a district, you're in. Nobody's gonna go drop wells at 5 or 7 grand a pop to get water.
They've stipulated what they want, Bill, in terms of
Oh, no.
the VFC
No, no.
hasn't told us. So you're just.
Other than a fair and accurate accounting. That's what they're telling
You're
you.
being preemptive.
We don't.
Okay, and their estimate, their formula for that right now, and he's got us at 700,000 gallons a day, which wouldn't cover what we're using even,
Can you imagine
Yeah.
if that's the number we end up?
you know?
Couldn't supply.
So we have got,
It wouldn't happen.
we have got to do this work,
Yeah.
or we're,
We're hurting.
You're already well down the path. It's just coming
Yeah.
that some decisions need to be made, and they're gonna come to your desk, and we'll make them.
I would suggest if we go with a committee or that type of approach, I would say that we do it in-house. We take our 2 water people, Tracy and Derek, and Sue, and myself, and we sit down and we hammer this out to get the user list cleaned up. When we get ready to assess units, I'd like to bring in both Todd and Matt to guide us in how to do that.
Makes
Take the
sense.
politics out of it.
I mean, I wouldn't want to come into some of these, I just don't know if I can make them all. That's why I'm saying move forward, because we need to move forward.
Yeah, we've got to get it done.
So, yeah.
And I know the other people I mentioned, our
Well, they
employees
understand.
are going to want to shoot me in the morning because it is a load. You can't imagine the work that we've done, those people have done to get to this point.
Sue's done a lot of hours on that spreadsheet.
A lot of hours.
I'll make a resolution that we form a
I
committee.
don't think we need to.
Oh, we don't? Okay.
No, that can just be
All right.
appointed, and I'll contact them in the morning, and we will get at it.
It would be nice if, when you had your meetings, you just notified us so that if we could attend, we would.
We will. The problem is, the scope of work that we're looking at, you want to figure every day we're going to, unless there's something else more pushing, we're going to be working on it every day. Because that's what it's got to do.
It's a sprint.
It's going to be a 5-day-a-week thing, except for what other pressing business we have in front of us.
Yep.
Okay.
John,
Bill, I believe Chuck might have had a question earlier.
I'm sorry?
Well, I was just wondering how you were going to treat commercial properties, residential, and the usage, like, say, businesses, like Christopher's.
We're gonna look at, I'll be very honest with you, we're gonna look at those businesses, see what they are, see what they do, and estimate their usage. I mean, there's just, a business is just opening in part of Wicker that's gonna be washing and detailing cars and whatnot. Obviously, that's a more than 1 unit user, you know? I mean, we've got to, that's gonna be an arbitrary thing. That's when we're gonna use the engineer to get his expertise on how much water you think they're gonna use. And
Okay.
we're gonna set a number to it.
Okay, and per se, that business closes, are you going to drop it back down, or?
That would be a legitimate case for dropping, yes. If it ceases to
It's
exist.
vacant.
Yeah, if a house burns down and the lot is vacated, you know, it'll be assessed a unit, but it won't get a user fee.
And going forward, that brings to the good topic. There's going to be a procedure in place so that when somebody comes in for a building permit, or when there's a site plan, or when somebody comes in to combine a lot or subdivide a lot, we'll have a form in place so that we don't run into these issues anymore. You know, that if somebody comes in to Patty to combine a lot, then it'll come to water and sewer to make sure that we're not combining an out-of-district lot with an in-district lot. You just don't do that. And we've learned that, you know, it's not.
There's not gonna be any-
Nobody's at fault here, it's just happened and we gotta fix it.
There's not going to be any circumstance where a residence will be assessed less than 1 lot or 1 unit? I mean, if it's someone living in it using the water,
No.
it'll be 1 unit.
There'll be a 1-unit charge, and it will go up from there.
Okay.
Okay, you can't, you know, the old half unit or tenth of the unit, that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what's clouded the whole thing to start with. And
It's
then-
impacting that use number. which
Do
is
you
just-
need any kind of an appeals process, though? I mean, as far as the assessment that's placed on them, as far as,
There will be a process.
okay. Good, good.
Any other questions? Do you have anything else?
No, Connie just asked me about the CO law, but I know the public hearing's been extended, but it's going to be a whole new
Yeah, I got an idea that Chuck may have come for that, and possibly yourself. There is going to be a major draft change in that law. We're going to, whether it continues to be a standalone item or whether it is going to be incorporated into an existing law, we aren't exactly sure, but we're trying to work so that we have some problem
I understand.
places, and we're trying to get that fixed and not mess with our legitimate landowners.
We have a code on the book, the uniform code, that we might be able to tweak a little bit to serve
Yeah.
our purpose rather than creating a whole new
Yeah.
ordinance.
We
That's
can,
what we're looking at.
we're trying to relate it more to a complaint-activated system than an inspection, a mandatory inspection on a dated basis.
Just one other thing there is, when I was here the last time and this came up, they mentioned that Mineville and that were using this program. I went to 9 landowners who ranked, and they said they never heard of it. So,
Well, if they haven't upset any of their property owners, must be they're doing a good job.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
that no one ever inspected the bills of these bills that somebody just bought like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And he's been, and people in and out, so I don't know.
Yeah, I can't speak to that, I don't
He said
know.
Mariah.
Yeah.
Mariah.
He was talking about Mariah.
Mariah, right,
Yeah.
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 So, the only thing I had to say was, if they're gonna do it to us, and the lake, and people rent their homes, gotta be included. That was my issue.
Yeah, well, it's
Because
gonna
they got
be,
people moving in and out every week.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna try and do it in a fair and equitable
Yeah.
basis, based on something other than just a mandatory required inspection.
Jumping back to the water, are we all included, even if we aren't in the district? Or is it only people who are accessible to water? I mean, does that affect me?
No.
Don't affect us, Joe.
So if we got wells, and we're just doing what we're doing,
They don't even know where the Hague Road is. We're saying.
especially when they plow.
Be nice.
That gentleman is out on Racetrack Road. You can catch him out there anytime you want.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Entertain a motion to accept or correct the minutes of the last regular and special meeting.
It's also moved.
No, wait, no.
Whoop, sorry.
Because Chatty wasn't here for the last one, so I don't know if they want to do them individually, or if you just want to, Chatty wants to abstain from all of them. She wasn't here for the very last one.
Oh, the special meeting?
Yeah,
Okay, we'll do them separately.
okay.
Accept or correct the minutes of the last regular meeting
And the financial meeting.
and the financial meeting.
So moved.
We have a motion, second by Chad. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. Now we'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the special meeting that was held the 4th?
31st for the IP
31st.
resolution.
Okay. 31st for the IP resolution.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Fred, and a second?
Second.
Second by David. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
Chatty abstains.
Entertain a motion for approval of water and sewer reports.
I so moved.
Moved by Mr. Taylor. We have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Juliano. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. approval of the supervisor's monthly financial report. Having a closure on that?
I'll make a motion.
So moved by Mr. Huntston. We have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Van Wert. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. We have a motion to pay the bills, please.
I'll make a motion. Pay the bills.
Moved by Mr. Huntston. Second by Mr. Leon. Any discussion? I've got a couple of questions on our bills.
Go ahead.
Okay? We have in that pile any number of bills from different automotive repair places. It's my understanding that we have a mechanic on staff.
Yes.
Is he solely for the use of the highway department?
No, not exclusively. I mean, if they have work to do, like, he'll work for the police department if necessary, or the other departments. As time permits, he's obligated primarily to the highway.
Okay, because I'm seeing things like oil changes, change of water pump, things like that that are being contracted out. And I wonder why we aren't doing any of that in-house.
We did a request for proposal a number of years ago for, because it was, at that time, there wasn't a mechanic. He didn't have any time to do it, or he couldn't get the work done, so the other departments, like, we did it for the police department, and that's how that came about. But that
One
was,
thing on that would, the mechanic that you have hired is actually driving truck an awful lot. I don't know exactly how much percentage or anything else. So he is out of the shop a lot, so he can only do what he can do when he's in the shop. And that's where it's creating a problem. They don't have enough drivers to man all the trucks, apparently. That's what I'm told.
So we hired a mechanic, and they decided to use the mechanic as a driver, so we can't get the mechanic's work done.
He drives a plow truck, he's got a route that he has to plow, and a route, whatever you want to call it, and different routes. Actually, it isn't just one. But anyways, he's out plowing, and if something breaks down, he can't just park his truck and start working on it.
We hired a mechanic. If Mike chooses to use him someplace else, I guess there's not a lot we can do about that, but, you know,
but they have other help available to them. They have the seasonal on-call people.
they will not use them. We
They will
know
not
this.
use
I mean,
them,
we can
so-
talk about this, but they will not use them.
Just out of,
So
for whatever reason.
then we have issues. That's
But
a problem,
it
right?
doesn't, it isn't highway. I mean, most of the work that goes to the outside vendors is the other departments, the senior bus, the
But
police department.
but if we're counting on the highway mechanic to be performing these tasks, and he's being used for something that he wasn't hired for, should we be billing this contract work against the highway budget?
It goes against his repair budget. I mean, if it's a highway charge, it comes out of the highway budget.
Not the senior bus.
If
Senior
it's,
bus, no, senior bus.
okay, if they change a water pump on a truck down at the sewer plant, does that get charged against highway?
No, it's a special benefit district. It goes against the water or sewer, or whatever department has the vehicle.
So the mechanic doesn't touch their equipment?
They have Sal doing their work at the sewer.
Yeah, they contract it out.
And he actually does some work in
Okay.
highway too, from what I understand. You probably know better than me.
If the police need an oil change,
They take it to Jay. That's what's been happening. The bills I've signed, they've gone to Jay.
should that be charged back to highway?
Goes to general. Comes out of general. The
Then
police-
what's the mechanic for?
The mechanic, I want to be absolutely sure of what I'm telling you here, but I'm pretty sure that he was hired as a mechanic / operator, I think. This is my recollection. It's
It's
quite a while ago.
defined in the personnel as mechanic. It's a one title CSEA position.
Right. Well, I don't know.
I think we need to get that cleaned up and sorted out, and if he's a mechanic, we need to have him as a mechanic. And if they're short a truck driver, they need to use the other help.
Okay.
The fact that they don't want to, then Mr. Parent or whomever can get in a truck and drive it himself.
Right.
But don't tell me you're short-staffed when you've got people you aren't bringing in to use.
Fred, if you took actual plow days, I mean, this was a pretty good year for plowing, but there's an awful lot of days they're not plowing. If that mechanic is a mechanic, when he's not plowing, isn't he doing maintenance work? I mean, isn't there enough time to do this other stuff?
Not completely, no. But here's the other factor in that, as far as I'm concerned, from talking to different people and everything like this, is the drivers, we'll call them the drivers, the people that operate the trucks and whatnot, for plowing or whatever it may be. They are supposed to be doing light-duty mechanics.
Grease the truck, clean the truck, yes.
Change a light
Yes.
bulb, different things
Yeah.
like this. And the other thing they should be doing, in my estimate or whatever, is if a mechanic is working on their truck and they have not been given another job to do, then they should be there with that mechanic, helping him do whatever needs to be done, whether it's handing him tools or
Yeah.
whatever.
Absolutely.
It isn't happening. That's what I hear. Now, how far you want to carry this, that's...
Well, how
that's a
far
bit-
can we carry it? We have an elected official in there, we can't carry it anywhere.
Well, yeah, to a certain extent we can, but you gotta,
Explain
that's
that.
something I'd wanna run through Mr. Fuller before I say anything really out of the ordinary. But you look in your town laws, and there's different things that can be done, but you wanna do it by the,
But by civil service, Fred, you have to work people 51% of the time in their job description.
Yeah.
49% of the time you can have them assigned as necessary, doing anything
Seems like
you need them to do.
enough.
You know, which,
And if our mechanic is spending 51% of his time in a truck, he's being worked out of
out of time. Yeah. Which-
Can I get courtesy of the floor to Mark for a second?
chair.
Is everybody okay with that? Mark, you have your car serviced. Can you enlighten us in any way about, have you tried to do that?
Over the years, we've gone back and forth, and actually in previous years, we did utilize the highway department mechanic for maintaining our fleet of police vehicles. It came about that we actually went out to bid, including receiving bids from the highway department for the routine maintenance and the hourly rates for other jobs that were done. And to be honest with you, the private industry came in with better price than what we would be responsible to pay the highway department for the same routine services, such as oil changes and tire changes. Part of the explanation was it takes longer at the highway department because they don't have a lift or a pit to do the oil changes. They don't have at that time they didn't have a device to mount and balance tires, the passenger car tires on site, et cetera, where an oil change there might have cost us $50 that we would pay out of our budget to the highway department budget, where if we use private industry, we pay between $30 and $40 based on the number of quarts of oil. The other reason that we tend to do that is we like going to a single mechanic instead of going to garage A for this type of work, garage B to do this piece of work. Having a single mechanic on that car, knowing the entire history and giving that car a look over every 3,000 miles with the oil change just really gives us a little bit of comfort knowing that we have just one person keeping records on that vehicle and letting us know that we have to do brakes at the next oil change or other things that might be coming up in the future. But that did go out to bid, and we did receive bids from the highway department and 3 of the local garages, and we selected the lowest bidder, which was, we currently contract with Jason Alco.
Very good, thank you.
Thanks, Mark. So we pay a mechanic and he charges him labor to do work on his cars.
See, the problem,
Well, it's
like you say, the
like
problem with it is they don't have the
cost.
tools to actually do that type of work. That's why it's cheaper to bid it out. And as Mark says, if you get a good man, he will check that vehicle over every time it comes in for an oil change or whatever.
Have a motion on the floor.
What was the motion? I'm lost.
Say the bills.
Oh, I made it. Okay, sorry. It's too much going on.
Any further discussion?
Fred and Dave.
15 seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We have a resolution authorizing Amy Quisnell and Carla Beglotti to attend the Association of Towns Finance Training in Saratoga Springs, May 8th and 9th for 2014.
I'll move that.
Second.
Second by Chatty. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution appointing Eric Stoddard to the position of Chairman for the Zoning Board of Appeals for 2014.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Mr. Huntston, second.
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Taylor. Any discussion?
Did anybody else step forward to chair that committee, or is it just Eric?
I believe it was Eric. He is,
They had an informal meeting.
yeah, they usually, that's usually a group selection. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. A resolution appointing Tanya Thompson and Sue Allen as alternate to be the zoning board clerk.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Taylor. Glutton for punishment, that's okay.
Who seconded?
Do we have a second? Second by Jen. Any discussion?
What'd you do last year, okay, or do we know?
No, we didn't.
You did? You doing this
No.
too?
We'll see.
It's an additional
I'll-
thing.
Yes.
You're okay for that time? I mean, you're pretty busy.
I know.
Seriously,
We'll see. I told them, we'll see. how it
okay,
goes.
okay.
The planning board, or the zoning board is usually very limited, and I don't know what their history is going to be, but their past history is they have the fastest meetings in 3 counties.
But it's the prep work that goes into that meeting.
That's true. That's
Okay.
true.
I just
We'll see.
want to make sure our clerk can still be a clerk at some point.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution for SW01 appropriating $600 fund balance to help partially pay an invoice for Route 9 and 73 map planning report due to AES Northeast. All in favor, excuse me, can we have a motion for that, please?
What is,
It's in regards to the water, right? Yeah, the water district on 9 and 73.
Oh, they did that before. They did that report for that no cost district.
Right.
The
I'll make
formation
a
of it.
motion on it then.
Moved by Mr. Huntston, second. No second?
I'll second.
Oh, second by Mr. Taylor. Any discussion?
Bill, what's this paid out of?
Fund balance.
Fund balance, and this is going to be reimbursed by,
It'll be fund balance out of, it says SW01.
Yeah.
That's,
Sewer, water, water, oh,
you're going to take it out of water account?
yeah.
yeah,
Because it's a water.
Thank you.
because it's a water bill.
Thank you, okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution approving SW01 budget transfer of $2,000 from SW01.8340.400 to SW01.1440.400. We're moving the $2,000 budget from repairs to engineering to help partially pay for for the same report. We're moving it from one part of that fund to another.
One line item to another.
Yes.
I'll make that motion then.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next is a resolution transferring the wood revenue. This is from the logs that were cut where the reservoir work is going on the transmission main project. We took in $2,406.82. That will transfer from the general fund to the transmission main project as revenue. Have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Get that done quick, though. It was nicely done.
Yeah, they did a good job.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. A resolution approving a change order for the John Street Sewer Stormwater Separation Project, authorizing the sewer main to be slip lined at a cost of $46,299. Now, this is covered by a grant, and it's in regards to the area where we've had all the trouble with roots. They're going to put what's called a slip line in that main, and
Open it up.
open it back up.
So it says change order, was it initially going to be replaced, or it wasn't part of the?
It wasn't part of the original
Job scope.
job scope. This is an addition.
But this line ties into that line. The root infiltration is downstream where our line ties in, so it needs to be addressed as part of this upgrade.
Correct.
It's an 18-inch line, and there's those willow trees all along there where, you know, the trees have been taken down, but the roots
The willows, yeah.
are still there.
Roots have got to be cleaned down.
I move that.
Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Chatty.
Second by Chatty. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. You need a resolution authorizing the town clerk to advertise for a part-time code enforcement safety officer for the codes department. The gentleman that we thought we had hired decided he didn't want to be hired. So we're looking again.
Do we have any resumes from the last round of interviewing?
I believe we have at least one in hand.
So we might have one potential, but
Yeah.
Well, I think the ones that you had before were not eligible for it.
Okay. Could be, I'm not sure.
That's why
I'm
we
not
have to
sure.
re-advertise.
we'll have to start again.
I'll make a resolution for that.
Moved by Mr. Huntston. We have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Liano. Any further discussion?
Is there, just a question, is there any other, what are other towns doing? They're contracting out with somebody, right? Like an outside third party? Like Putnam is using somebody? I mean, I just wonder if there's other ways to do this.
The best way to do it is the county should be doing it.
Yes.
Essex County has opted not to.
Yes.
So if we're going to have code enforcement, it falls on us to do
To
it.
do it ourselves.
I had a gentleman ask me about it, so he'll probably put a resume in.
Good. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. A resolution authorizing a budget transfer for contingency A1989.400 to A1972.400 in the amount of $2,841.49 for the 2013 Hudson Headwaters tax adjustment.
I'll move that.
I'll second.
I have a question.
Yes.
In Matt's, one of his emails, he said, under Hudson Headwaters, he said that we're presently waiting for,
It should have been put in there, and I called, that wasn't Matt's, it's the other firms, and they figured it out.
oh, it's
I
true.
don't- Yeah.
So they're taking the tax exempt status, correct?
Portion of the building.
For the top half of the building.
Right.
So they'll make the files available? they're tax exempt, they got to make their records available?
I don't know that they have to make them available.
I believe they do, but
Their finances?
Well, I don't
If they
know,
want to be tax exempt, I mean, Hudson Headwaters tax exempt?
they don't have to make those files available to the town, they have to make them available to the entity that declares them a tax exempt.
right.
That's us. We're making them tax exempt, right?
No,
No, they would
no.
have had to.
They get
make
a, no, they get a
federal
tax
application.
exempt designation from
Federal.
whatever entity grants that 501c.
It's a federal
Federal, yeah,
application.
it's federal.
It's a federal regulation that you have to comply with to be granted tax exempt status. We were assessing them as not. They got the federal documentation saying they are. That's why we have to give them back $2,841.49.
The one thing they can do, David, the one thing that you can do is you can ask to see their 501c or whatever it is.
Which was done.
Right,
Well,
okay.
you can go on the internet and see that.
That's true, too.
So the money we're giving back is back to the time where they received the tax exempt status, or that was a negotiation?
No, that was a negotiated settlement, I believe. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We need a resolution authorizing highway unappropriated fund balance to DA 1972.400 in the same amount of $1,483.02 for the same 2013 Hudson Headwaters tax adjustment.
I'll move that.
Moved by Mr. Taylor, second by Mr. Huntsman. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We'll move on. We'll go to reports of committees. We'll start with Public Works. Public Works meeting was held March 25th at 8:30 in the morning. We had several people in attendance. Actually, it was one of the briefer meetings that we've had with Water and Sewer in quite some time. We discussed how we're going to assess debt for the new water supply project. And it was discussed that the debt will be divided by the total number of EDU units, and each unit will be assessed an equal portion of the debt, whatever that debt arrives at. That way, everybody pays the same amount. Not every unit will pay the same amount. If you're assessed 1 unit, you'll pay 1 unit of debt. If you're assessed 10 units, you'll pay 10 units of debt. We discussed the formation of the new Fort Ty Water District. We acted on that at the financial meeting to have AES prepare a map plan and report, and that work is underway. The work is progressing on the Speedies permit for the sewer plant. The draft sewer ordinance is being reviewed and will be in for comment by our next meeting, possibly by the financial meeting. We had PESH visit. They discussed several items with us. They found a couple items. Obviously, they're the OSHA branch of the state and review municipalities and DPWs and that type of thing. Obviously, we asked them to come and look at the PRV plant that the FEMA people don't want to give us money to bring it into compliance with the PESH regulations. They're saying FEMA's saying it isn't necessary to do it. Pesh told us that we cannot put them in that PRV at the way it existed. So we're letting them fight that out. And while they were here, they found an exit sign that needs to be installed properly. And one of the lockout tag devices was not properly installed on a piece of equipment. And we are progressing with the FEMA issue on the PRV valves. The PESH people are on it. Congressman Owens' people are on it. Senator Schumer's people are on it. Senator Gillibrand's people are on it. And PESH is beginning to come around. And there is an indication that they may grant this change that everybody is insisting on except for them. Amazing how it works that way. Progress is coming along on the production well. They had a brutal winter, and they are at a slower pace than expected, but we don't feel it's going to interfere with the time frame that DOH is looking at. I find it a bit ironic that DOH is the one that said working in the winter wouldn't make any difference, but.
Am I wrong to think you said PESH is coming along on that instead of FEMA?
I hope so.
You said...
FEMA is starting to come around.
Right, you said PESH.
I'm sorry. FEMA is starting to
Okay.
accept the fact that that change in the scope of work has to take place. The John Street Sewer Project, we noticed some concerns over there in regards to the sidewalks, and those are being addressed by the engineers with the contractor. There has been issues with some grease traps around the community of late, and letters were sent to some of the restaurants in the town in regards to that, and some of the owners of the restaurants have come back with an issue about the time frame that was included in the notices on that. And the committee is very agreeable to extending the time frame for the benefit of the restaurant owners. Can't see any issue doing that. And our next meeting will be April 29th. Operation efficiency.
We didn't have a meeting this past month, but we are having a public meeting, well, a meeting where the public is invited on April 23rd, I believe it is, 6 to 8 p.m. And we're looking for public input on ways that we can be more efficient. Suggestions that anybody might have that we haven't seen. This is, yesterday I attended the Adirondack Association of Towns and Villages, and there was a comment that this year, this round of consolidated funding applications for the Regional Economic Development Company will again have more grant opportunities for shared services and shared equipment. So maybe something, I don't know, something will come out of operations efficiency that might end up being a project that we could apply for a grant for. I don't know. Something to consider anyway. That's all I have for operations efficiency.
Thank you.
We have been sharing for quite some time, different things. We can't get anything for that, though. I don't imagine.
Retroactive doesn't work.
Yeah, right.
Buildings, grounds, parks, and recreation.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Would you like to do that resolution?
Resolution, yes.
So would it send it to you, I assume it's in your packet.
The one,
Interfund or
Meetings to determine distribution of town services to improvements incorporated in free initiative grant program in the New York State Environmental Cause and New Africa.
I didn't get it back.
It's in your
Here, Bill.
Yes, I'm sorry. This is the resolution on the GIGP grant. A resolution making certain determinations in relation to the town of Ticonderoga sewer system, improvements incorporating the Green Initiative Grant Program and the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act pursuant to 6 NYCRR Part 617 Seekers. If we could have a, I'm not going to read the whole resolution, it's several pages long here, but you all have a copy of it. No, not several pages.
I'll move that we adopt it. Oh, you doing all right?
No, I'm joking.
Step.
I'm sorry, Wayne Gordon.
Okay.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Thank you. Can I go to Buildings and Grounds, Parks and Rec now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know, we're starting wrong.
Just don't scold.
Where you're hearing,
Yeah, you're good.
you were very nice. Scared me. We combined these two, so this will be a little longer, but I won't have a second report. Buildings and Grounds, Parks and Rec met March 18th, 10 o'clock with the council people. I can't decide whether to say councilman or councilwoman, so I'm confused. But myself, Chatty Danworth, and Fred Hudson were there with Sharon Reynolds, Bill Dolbeck, Tanya Thompson, Joyce Cooper, Jerry Cooper. The guests were Bridget Simpson, Steve and Sylvia Boyce. We talked about the lights behind Pride, and Bill Crossman will be repairing that lighting. Him and his father, I guess, work on it. It's a little different. He's going to help us with that. The beach issue, the supervisor had made the beach available to remove shanties, and we talked about it, and he understood that it was damaged before, but we'd like to give the citizens another chance to use the beach. It makes it easier for them to do that, and hopefully they'll be aware that, you know, everybody uses that beach and they keep it neat and clean. Shanties left after April 1st will be reported to the DEC. Bill Dolbeck's going to complete an inventory for us on the beach furniture, the chairs, what needs to be painted and work like that, so we can get it ready for grounds early, get that out of the way while they have time. The swim at your own risk sign, and I'm going to expound on this a little bit because I just talked to Department of Health. He actually considers the park separate from the beach. So we have it out by the road, and he suggested we move it onto the beach chairs that have the swim at your own risk sign and all that. And the beach closed sign should be on those chairs because he separates the beach from the rest of the park. And there's no reason to close the rest of the park when the beach is closed. Thought that was interesting. Kind of give us a break there because, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He sees a park and he sees a beach. And that really helps us out actually, so. We'll take a look at that. I'll take a look at that with Mike. He helped me put the sign up and we'll move it to a better location. We're going to try to have all the documentation on the beach be available by the beginning of June. Tanya's already contacted me that we got that in and we're going to start working on it. We want to try to make sure the school will be able to use the park this year. We kind of got behind last year. We want to make sure it's available to them when the kids use it in June. Bridget Simpson with the American Red Cross and the WSI and lifeguard, plus other qualifications, presented ideas for offering aqua fitness lessons, stroke analysis for swimmers of all levels, and lessons for swimmers of all ages at the beach. His prior experience providing these types of water programs. She would like permission to use the beach to provide these programs as a private business. I didn't know where we were on that, so. I mean, we've often talked about letting a vendor go up there, so I assume, I don't know, I'm asking. She has offered in return that when the kids go up for a swim program, she would work with the kids for free. You know, when the students from the school go up there for the summer program and all that, she'd help with that. But, you know, there's a need in town for people, even elderly, swim lessons for aerobics and all that, so.
Insurance?
Let me keep reading. Does she need a permit to use the town beach? Yes. I'll find out about insurance. I do need to find out about that. I should have asked that up front.
I would-
Did we ask about insurance, Tanya?
believe she said she had it, I think.
She has it, but
Yeah.
I think the town needs to have it.
Yeah, it might.
Covered as well.
Second insured?
Yeah.
Yeah, she needs to be first insured. Okay.
I would
Yes.
want, I would want Mr. Fuller and maybe even Mr., who we have our liability attorney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We might want both of them to
My
review
last
the
line is
policy.
Supervisor Grinnell will consult with the attorney to determine legal issues of allowing such a program.
Thank
So
you.
that was the last line here. I thought that would be a good idea to run it by the attorney.
Dave, did you have her in as WSI?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Beautification crew priorities. This was another question. Employee communication, being able to access the employees on short notice is critical and is the head groundskeeper's responsibility. It's been a problem for a couple of years to know which employee can do what job and how to pay them. Communication's been the biggest problem. Going forward, the head of grounds will be expected to attend these meetings, our meetings, to work with us, the building and grounds meetings, so we can visit them. We'd like them at the meetings. Setting priorities, Supervisor Grinnell has offered to get this organized, and we'll work with and direct the beautification crew. Certain projects should be starting the first 2 weeks in April, i.e. painting beach furniture.
When did he say he was coming in, the 21st?
He said he and 2 other members, he has planned to start work on the 21st, and he also has no problem coming to the Park and Recs meeting.
Beautiful, thank you. Committee members of the departments that are asked to create projects and task lists with their associated priority and desired timeline and provide to this committee as soon as possible to help build and setting work plans. NYMER will also be sending reports for the list to be done. Work priorities like getting the air conditioners in. We talked about the beach furniture painting in, picnic tables need to be painted here and in the park. So these are all things we can do before the lawn starts growing. You know, if we have things for these guys to do. So.
We've got a mower to pick up, we've got, the mowers need to be serviced,
Yes.
there's a, you know.
Yeah.
We should probably get together and share a list
Okay.
so that we have it here for Rich when he's,
I was trying to get the department heads, like Bill has his group, you know, Rich has his group. Tanya has things that she knows gets done around here, and I'm sure we all do. So if we could just get some lists together and then put them together and see how we can work on that. That's what I was saying.
Today at the library meeting, they had a list too.
Did they?
So it's,
We'll add that to it.
right.
The park at the Lower Falls, lighting at the falls, this project has been underway for a couple of years. The right-of-way issues have been cleaned up by Hydro. Come back. Oh, maybe you just- Sorry. The right-of-way has been taken care of with Hydro by Matt. We should see, we're hoping to have this finished early in May, weather permitting. TMSP would like the project completed by the 17th of May, town cleanup day. The entrance garden needs work to the park, and Joyce's and the garden club have talked about taking care of that and cleaning it up and making it look a lot. It's way too big, and it obstructs the entrance into the park, and they were talking about fixing that for us. If the town could provide some assistance, the bigger bush, Derek went down there with his backhoe and took the one out next to the steps here in one swoop, so I don't think that would be a big problem. The pathway through the park needs repairs to sinkhole areas underwater in the spring or heavy rain and broken pavement. Funding is available for materials in the highway department and will be assisting in work completion. Bill, you had other ideas on this?
yes, discussed them with Mike Parent, discussed them with you somewhat. To try and put 2 inches of blacktop over 6 inches of gravel on clay soil is, in my opinion, pointless. When you put heavy vehicles down in the park, heavy vehicles being the rigs that bring in the 4th of July equipment and whatnot, some of the car haulers and whatnot that bring in cars for the car show, it's not going to hold up. And I think we'd be money in the bank if we planned for a stone dust type of material that we can maintain easily with equipment that we already have. And you know, it's just, the expense of the blacktop is horrendous. I just can't see spending that kind of money for letting that heavy equipment tear it to pieces. Doesn't make sense. and a nice path that can be maintained easily will be perfectly acceptable, I would think.
So would you pull up the blacktop?
Take the
that's there?
blacktop off and replace it with a stone dust type of material.
This is in Bicentennial Park? This is in Bicentennial Park you're talking about?
Bicentennial Park and the other park.
And this will be wheelchair accessible?
Absolutely, there's no reason you can't put a wheelchair down.
Okay.
It compacts just like that tabletop.
Okay, great. I think that'd be a question someone would
Yeah.
ask.
We can grade it with a little, we may have to add, when I said we already have the equipment, Mike said he may have to buy what's called a drag box, which is a small grading device that would drag behind the Bobcat or a similar small machine. And then our small roller to go over it, and it's down and hard and ready to go.
A lot of this damage happens in the winter too with the plow truck.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it can be raked up and straightened out in the spring, and, you know, you may need to buy a load of stone dust to top it out with, that kind of thing, but, you know, $100 load of stone dust is a lot better than 30 grand worth of blacktop.
We also have to address that conduit that's exposed in the park. That is not on, so we're going to have to look at that. In the buildings, we have the leaded window in the front portion that needs repair. The leaded window in the front of the community building. Mike Cruikshank had repaired the same type of window in the rear of the building. These are real hard to work on. And he basically took 2 pieces of plexiglass and really did a nice job, just putting the thing back together where it would hold together correctly. Looks really good. The retainer required by Alfondre Architect to start bid specifications for the town will be paid. It has been paid. And we took care of that at the last finance meeting. You guys have some quotes in front of you for the cap for the fencing in the ball fields. NYMER, our insurance agency, tagged us on this. This is that yellow top on the fence that goes all the way around. The Little League field has it, field 2 and 3 does not. So we went out and got 3 quotes. The lowest quote with the tool to put it on, which was $25, came to $2,605. If it's the pleasure of this board, NYMER, I'm just going to read it. NYMER requested we cover the outfield chain link fencing. We obtained 3 quotes for the project and Tri-County Fence, the lowest bidder with a price of $2,605. The 8510 budget will be used for this. I have money in the budget for this. So I'm proposing a resolution awarding Tri-County Fence the quote for the amount of $2,605.
I'll make that motion.
Made and seconded. Any discussion? Good project to get done. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. I should have the date here, but I don't. Tony, you got the date of our next meeting? 22nd.
It's at the bottom.
Normally it's next week on Tuesday, but since so many people were gone on the student break, we moved it to the following Tuesday, which was the 22nd at 10 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you. Economic development.
Our March meeting was snowed out, so it's rescheduled for April 17th, 2 o'clock. And again, at yesterday's Adirondack Association Towns and Villages, they talked about the need to link strategies and opportunities and for organizations to work together. And so that's really what we're looking to do in our next meeting, to work on our strategies as with a number of local organizations involved in developing.
Thank you. Airport.
We're kind of between monthly and quarterly meetings, depending on how much stuff is happening out there. The bid was awarded for the fuel tanks to Resnick. They were able to get everything in a timely fashion. The FAA has not released the money, which would have put them behind on the bid, so we requested they hold that bid for another month, and they have said they would. We got the documentation on that, so we're just waiting on the FAA. It hasn't released money to anybody yet, not just us, so we're just waiting for that money to be released and we can move forward with that. Thank you.
Dave?
Yes.
In our brief that came up from the attorneys, he talked about the sales tax collection that's going to have to be happening up there. How, pray tell, are we going to do that?
Tanya has spare time, so we're going to drop that up. All this is going to come through Tanya's computer as far as use and money, and it will separate tax out. So I'm going to have to get you a program.
Is there any?
But there's a computer program that will be installed on the clerk's computer.
Okay.
And you'll hit 2 keys and it'll run it.
Ernie works very closely with Lake Placid. They have this system. He's away right now. When he gets back, he's going to go find all that out and bring it back to us.
Well, the way that works at Lake Placid is the town of North Elba owns the equipment, but it's Terry Politi. He leases or he operates the
Yes.
aircraft repair facility, and he manages the gas and deals with the operation of the concession.
But he's still paying sales tax, so we're going to figure out how he's doing that, what his program is, and how it all works, because it's the same thing for the town. So,
It'll be run on a card swipe.
yeah.
It'll be charged on.
The lawyer made it sound like there was going to be a lot more entailed to it.
I know
I
you
have
did.
no idea how any of that.
That's why I was worried about your other job. Trying to give you-
That's why you were so concerned.
I need you.
If it turns into a significant
Yeah.
issue,
We'll look at it.
we can have Mr. Leano's accountant handle it along with the restaurant business. We'll be all set.
No problem.
Maybe I can get my part-time.
Yes.
They're used to dealing with sales tax out there, so. That it, Dave?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, highway.
Yes, we had our meeting on March 25th. There were numerous people in attendance. Matt Fuller did give the committee an overview as to the scope of work is going to need to be submitted to the DEC to remedy the soil contamination issue. They are still working at that. There's a couple of scenarios that they're working through that may prove to be less costly to the town than what we originally expected, but it's still a significant cost. At any rate, the dirt is going to have to be transported somewhere off-site. Clinton County landfill, Franklin County landfill, ESMI, I don't remember what that was.
Fort Edward.
Fort Edward, okay. We did do a request for proposal for line painting, crosswalks and whatnot, and we only did receive one bid from Atlantic Pavement Marking Incorporated for $6,500. We did footnote that Chief Johns would like to be consulted in terms of the white line painting in certain areas. There were some questions about, where that was going to be necessary. So I would move a resolution that we award the single bid that we received to Atlantic Pavement Marking Incorporated in the amount of $6,500.
We have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
This is all the lines in town, or all the road lines, or
Well,
crosswalks, or what?
let's see, it says, work requested, bid for crosswalks,
Crosswalks.
parking spaces, no parking spaces, stop lines, handicap parking, fire hydrant locations only.
Oh, so it's not the lines on the...
Not
The lines on the road.
No,
Not
Essex
the
County
lines.
does those, yeah. Yeah, Essex County, they charge us so much a foot.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Yep.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Okay. We did also go over the bids that were submitted for dirt. And that includes a litany of different commodities, such as green gravel, run-of-bank sand, crushed stone, item 4, cobblestone, beach sand, screen topsoil, and overburden. And the committee wants to recommend that the bid be awarded to, we only received one bid in this case also, from Pat Armstrong. And I would offer that as a resolution.
I'll make that resolution.
Motion, second?
Second.
Second by David.
Wayne did.
Fred made the motion?
Oh, actually, Wayne did.
Oh, Wayne made the motion.
And you
All right.
seconded it, Fred.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay.
Everything to quality issue. Any further discussion?
The options 1, 2, 3, and 4, why are they different? I don't remember why.
Well,
That confused me last year.
we had one option included that would have a price delivered. The last one, option 4, would be a delivery price if we were to buy it and he was to truck it for us.
One is for us.
One is with a loader, with a loader and a man. The other is providing just a loader.
Is there different materials on there too?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, just like last year. It was interesting to look at.
You can look at, I have the bid upstairs if you want to take a look
Yeah,
at it.
because one might be lower here, one
Different
might be lower there.
situations. That's what it boils down
But
to.
anyway, he's got the latitude to mix and match as necessary, you know what I mean, in terms of if he can provide for the loading of it himself, he can do that. If he can't, maybe they're payload or load our trucks, that kind of situation. It's
Also, depending on how much he does, it'll fall into one of these 4.
one of these
options.
categories, whatever the situation is at the time, yeah.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay. We are still waiting specifications for paving for 2014. As of the last day or two, that has came, and we do have a bid spec and a posting that we'd like to include to go out to bid on the paving. It's in your packet there from Kara, from Cheryl Baker Morrison Firth. And it's pretty standard stuff. Yeah.
I hate to interrupt you. There was a lot of discussion at the meeting about instead of using a per hour quote, using a job by job quote.
Tonnage. Was there another one too?
Yeah, tonnage.
Yeah, right.
They had, I think the attorney could shed light on that. I think there's something around that with the, in terms of the job scope for each individual job. Well, we have that here. We have something of that nature here. This is specific to each road he wants to pave next year, or this coming spring. Like there's Scholar Street, Vineyard Road, Warner Hill.
My concern, okay, is having a bit of background in construction work. Very often, road construction particularly will run from daylight to dark, more than an 8-hour day. We have the quotes we're looking at are for an 8-hour day. The overtime, if you go with a quote, it's going to cost you X dollars to pave Schuyler Street, okay? And they figure 14 hours to pave it, okay? Well, you're going to go in there and they're going to quote it at 14 hours of straight time. You're going to wind up with 8 hours of straight time and 6 hours of overtime, and it's going to blow your budget right out of the water.
I don't know how we arrived at this, but like I said, he has a specific quotation from one vendor here, Becca Materials, and it pertains to each road that he's proposing that he wants to do this year, which is very specific. Paver operator, roller, 10, 12-ton roller operator, skid steer with milling head. I mean, it's all paving foreman's pickup. I wish he was here. He could shed some more light on it.
I wish he was here too, because I can't support that.
Okay. Going to
Not
bid?
like that. I can't support it like that.
I agree with that it ought to be charged by the tonnage, or bid ought to be done by the tonnage. That way.
Or the job. I mean, they can do it by the job.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
if they're gonna be there and they're gonna spend 8 hours a day doing it, that's fine. But if they get there and they're in it for 8 hours, and then somebody, the foreman or whoever says, well, we've got to be at Crown Point tomorrow, we've got to get this done today, Ticonderoga's not going to pay that overtime. That's their choice.
That was discussed a couple of years ago, when we did a trying to put it out to bid that way, but there was some,
Well, we
something.
got into a tremendous problem there last year. They didn't lay our blacktop till it was Thanksgiving week,
I understand that.
you know, and it was because of a state specification that required that they couldn't lay pavement when it was colder than 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So they'd wait, and the crew was tied up out there. So, well, we can hold off on it and kick it back to committee and see what you want to do with it. I have to think, though, it's something to do with the attorney. The attorney developed the spec, and it had to be, and it was a unit price deal for.
I wouldn't run it by Matt.
I'm not comfortable with them being able to pull the trigger on the overtime. And there's nothing that I've read that says they can't, and you're stuck.
And how long does it take to get here with the equipment? How long does it take to load it up to leave? Is that all considered in the time? You might have 4 hours of pay, depending on where they're coming from.
It's way too over.
We'll work on it some more then. Withdrawn.
Well, and how about the priority of what's going to be paid? Has that been determined, or is that?
That's part of this, document here.
Do we have that, please?
Mike has it, and I made my own copy of it.
Do you have that, Tanya?
I'm not sure.
Is Vineyard Road 6,400 feet times 20 feet wide? Is Shanahan Road 4,500 feet by 20 feet wide? It's Schuyler Street. This is material only, half-inch type 5 shim, inch and a half type 6, 380 tons, 127 tons respectively. Portage Street, 1,700 feet by 24 feet. And Abercrombie Street, 900 feet by 20 feet. Woody Lane, 800 feet by 12 feet. Treadway Street, 1,300 feet by 22 feet.
I think that's the report, because they're just supposed to turn into the town every year.
Right. And Town Park, 800 feet by 12 feet. Right. But that's what he's pulling. You want that one, Tanya? Make that
I can make a copy for everybody.
Okay.
if you guys want.
We'll work on it, like I said, to see if we can't get you what you need, though. Like I said, I'm kind of off on the.
Well, he was also gonna, for Warren Hill Road, I think he was supposed to have a quote on actually
That's there.
scraping it up and.
That's
putting
there.
it back down.
That's there.
what it's
That's, I
supposed
think, the
to-
second page.
It mills it up,
Yeah.
and then they put it back down with an added oil, or
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it.
He's got,
I'll make a copy for everybody.
mile of complete pavement, and then so much of the reprocessing part, so we'll work on it. Okay, we are waiting for specifications on sidewalks and still working with North Country Community College on a walkway. Down to other business, the 2014 Western Star 4900 SB with dump box and plow should be delivered in April. That is here. The 2007 Western Star 4900 is back in service, but needs to go back for repainting of the doors. That was the truck that was involved in the accident on the Vineyard Road during the ice storm. We are currently working with two-way radio and Wells Communication to get quotes on a base radio and to update our current radios to meet the new requirements. Everything that we have has to be configurable to a narrow band signal, and currently we don't have anything other than the county radio. The county did provide one radio for the superintendent that he can interface the county with. John Street sidewalks are in need of repair, which everyone's aware of that. It was a heaving issue due to the weather, and Bill had noticed that. The contractors are going to address that, the people that have put the project in. We discussed better practice for patchwork on roads. Mike spoke about a better compaction. It's a lot of the main reason why we don't get the quality repair that we should get. St. Clair and Grove Street storm box still has issues, and Mike will work with Tracy Smith to resolve this. Dave Woods did bring an engineer up to the highway garage to take a look at some of the work that might need to be done to make it code compliant. Supervisor Grinnell has discussed with neighboring communities a regional salt shed, and we will continue exploring this. Carla did have a couple of quotes, or not quotes, but a couple firms that build these kinds of things. A sidewalk plow is still needed, and we are looking at a skid steer versus a bombardier. Next scheduled highway meeting is April 29 at 12 p.m.
Thank you.
Okay.
Human Services. The young and old.
Young and old. The meeting.
I qualify for the old.
Me too. Youth committee meeting. Called the meeting to order at 5:02. Present were Chief Johns, John Bartlett, Tanya Thompson, Angie McAlpine, Pam Mosier, Helen Benedict, Dan Cross, and Chatty Van Wert. The summer program was the main discussion. John Bartlett volunteered to oversee the summer program. Angie McAlpine is submitting her request for director of the summer program. A number of different subjects were discussed in length pertaining to the summer program, the county part in the youth program and the grants and etc. Chief Johns gave a report on the cost of a camera installed for the skating ring, the skateboard ring, and also the basketball court, which would also cover the baseball court, possibly. Ice skating ring, yeah, I mentioned that, I believe. Anyways, the Little League part, there were a lot of questions from the committee that Chief Johns answered. Chief Johns was very thorough as to the possibility and cost where it should be mounted. Helen Benedict gave her report on the last skiing trip for the past skiing session. Pam Mosier is looking into a possible grant for the background checks that we need for the people we hire. Next youth meeting, Monday, April 14th at 5 p.m. Excuse me. The senior meeting, March 19th, was called to order at 1 p.m. with a salute to the American flag. There was 15 members present. Guest present, Chatty Van Wert and myself. Guest speaker, Judy Crowley, and her seeing eye dog and training. Old business, the potluck supper held March 7th was enjoyed by 8 people attending and was requested we hold another with game night to follow. New business, there is a discrepancy. Our supper club scheduled on the 9th of April with a shopping trip to Glens Falls. Sue and Ann will solve this problem. Just a reminder, the police department will be collecting your outdated drugs on April 26th at the police station. And the hours of that, Chief? 10 o'clock in the morning till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Activity report, thanks to Charlie Gagne for all his hard work chopping the ice, sanding and salting the seniors' entrance. Ann has, Ann has Lifeline coupons that save up to $70 on installation fees. The Lifeline is the one, I believe, that you can press the button and get a person to answer and get you an emergency vehicle. The seniors have proposed to the town of Ticonderoga they would be willing to pay for a driver's overtime if that would help on the trips. The attorney is reviewing this matter and, and is also checking to make sure it's all legal. Next senior meeting is April 16th, 1 p.m., Armory. Guest speaker will be Chief Johns, I believe.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Next up will be public safety.
We met on March 31st, about 5 p.m. Myself, Fred Hunston, Commissioner Margaret Long, Phil Ball, Chief Mark Johns, Dave Woods, Kevin Cross, Ron Drinkwine, Matt Fuller, Sonia Thompson. Our guests were, Bill Grinnell was there, and as supervisor to help us out with some of this, Jason Bennett and James, pronounce that name for me.
Bergeron.
Thank you, Bergeron. Got to be French. They came to the meeting, James and Jason, and it was pretty nice because they started out explaining what a great job Marge Cross does and what a great program she has. They happen to be neighbors across the street. And when there's cars on both sides of the street, even if they don't block their driveway, they pull right to the driveway, they park on the other side of the street, and these guys can't get out. They physically can't get out of their homes. And I guess they're looking to see if we could do parking on one side of the road. We had asked that once before. Plus the kids crossing. They said really, and that tunnel effect really makes for an unsafe situation. I think we had this talk with Stu, and he thought it was better on both sides of the road. I do not. I know the school buses try to let kids off door side. We never try to let kids cross. If we can. Now, sometimes you have to, but for the most part, we don't. And I said that to Stu. But these guys feel the same way. They simply cannot get out of their home. And we had spoke a little bit with Mark, and he was going to do some checking up on that and take some photos, and they were going to take some photos and just take a look at it. But they like Marge. They don't want to impact Marge's business. They're just trying to make a safe environment there. They were very good about it. Code enforcement, we went into the certificate of occupancy law, and we went into it. And I'm not going to go through it again, but we were looking at utilizing the existing local law 2007, adopting the uniform code. We probably can expand on the law that's already there to accommodate what we need to accommodate without putting the local law on the books. And the real reason for this is we had a ton of input from the public, which is great. I mean, people call us, people came to us, and that really had us looking at this and working with this, and that's what makes this process work. So it was great. Mark said there have been many applications received for the record clerk's position and asked for help in reviewing some of these. He stated that he's sending an officer to school in April for a school liaison training officer. He had initially worked in his schedule, and we'll have some more talk about this later, about one of his officers working in the school, and he needs a little bit of schooling to interact with the kids properly, and not that he does it improper, but this just makes everything correct and safe, and it's schooling he needs to be in there all the time and work with the kids, so we had looked at that.
Now, this would be in the middle school or elementary
It
school?
would be all the schools. It'd be St. Mary's, if the college wanted, it'd be middle school, elementary school, and high school. So it would be all over, any place that needed it. Let's see, Calvin Cross made a motion to pay the bill. Let me get out of that. Sorry, guys. You got the minutes, so the code enforcement officer's done quite a bit of work. The police have done a tremendous amount of work. Busier than I thought, 25 criminal arrests, 49 charges, 27 felonies, 12 misdemeanors, 10 violations, 55 traffic tickets, 1 vehicle tow, wasn't running, thank God. 1 DWI arrest, 14 motor vehicle accidents, and 362 calls for service. So they keep, even in the winter, they keep pretty busy. A lot of ambulance-assisted calls, and this was interesting talking to these guys, because when you call the ambulance, it's probably 8 or 9 minutes. They're quick. But that officer's in a car and gets there right away. And they can start CPR, and they're on the scene pretty quick. And even the ambulance drivers were telling us how helpful this is. So these guys do quite a bit. They do a lot. It's kind of interesting listening with them, talking to them, talking to other people that interact with them. We've got some more stuff going on, but I'm going to hold it for Mark's report. And that's all I'm going to do right now, my friend. Thank you. When's our next meeting, Mark? I'm supposed to know this, I know.
Last two, last
You don't
Monday.
have to be the most intelligent person in the room, you just gotta make sure they're there.
I understand.
Last Monday of the month always. yeah.
I understand how you rely on that.
It says,
Yeah, my wife keeps me straight.
in your minutes, it says April 28th.
Thank you. Do I have to read? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's all yours.
Library and cable TV.
Yes, we did have a meeting today up at the library committee with the library board, and they had several items they brought up. First of all, the most important thing is we need authorization to place an ad in the paper for a library aide. We're going to have I got a pending resignation here I'm going to bring up later, but the person is going to retire by June 1st and would work through June 30th to train the new person. Heather had said she wants to reallocate the hours from current, she has a different scheduling that she wants to do, allocation, but the original position was 21 hours a week, and she wants to change it. The new hire would be 17, and then the remaining clerk would get a little bit more than they had in the past.
19.
At any rate, they'd like the ad to appear. They're working out the specification in terms of what was going to be put in the paper. That's what we did today. We worked out, everyone had a little bit of input in terms of what needed to put in the ad, what they felt should be in the ad in terms of content. But she would like authorization to put it in the paper. And I would move that.
What does that do to us budget? I'm sorry. We have a motion, we have a second?
It's a budget position. I mean, there's a line item for that. There will be a lap in terms of having both people in.
That's my question. Where does
Which,
and with the change of hours, now there's going to be a change of hours and a change of salary for that position?
It'll be an entry level. This person that's leaving's been there 13 years, so is a lot higher rate than the new entry level position. It would be at $10 an hour. That's our starting rate for our clerks.
And it wouldn't be a total, giving the current person, well, there's someone's leaving, but one of the current people will get a few more hours, and so this person will get fewer hours than the one they're replacing. So budget-wise, I think she's feeling that it's not going to be an increase in the budget. It would be the same, and that would give her some money to have a 2-week overlap so that the current person can train.
Yeah, okay. All right. Any other questions?
Somebody seconded it?
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. There's a couple other things in terms of building maintenance that came up. Apparently there's been some lapses due to vacationing and whatnot, where some of the work hasn't been getting done. As far as the cleaning, she made specifically, she gave me a list here, but vacuuming, cleaning the bathrooms and stuff. And she was wondering about what the plan forward is as far as how the town proper is going to address its own needs in this respect. I mean,
We had a person out for 2 weeks. They scheduled being out. They notified me. This is where we were trying to work with buildings and grounds, and we were trying to figure this out. Didn't get it figured out, so that falls on me. The person that does this work gave us plenty of time. So basically, I don't want to go into it.
what they're hoping to have is, and on bi-weekly service, they wanted the general library empty out trash and remove dust, remove smudges, fingerprints, vacuum, clean all glass doors, vacuum all doormats, clean the restrooms, dust mop floors, restock all paper dispensers, clean mirrors, spot clean walls, monthly service, remove cobwebs from all areas, dust bookshelves, semi-annual service, window cleaning.
Why don't you give that list to Mr. Uliano?
Okay.
And he can work on
He
it.
can work his.
I'll give it to Mr. Grinnell.
He can work his magic, huh? Okay.
I'm going to give it to Mr. Grinnell, who's in control of this.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Well, and not all of that goes to beautification.
No.
Just a few things, like the spring cleaning items and some of the repairs.
The added work that the lady that's in there now doesn't do, she does most of this. Okay,
Yeah.
there's a few things added on here, and it's,
Right.
it's,
She did that she made that list because some of the things weren't getting done, and so she, will make a list of things that you want done, and then you can, it's better, it's easier to communicate that way. But there are some spring cleaning issues that the regular cleaning person isn't going to be able to handle, so those are the things that, like window washing, who washes the windows in this building? Does Fred do that, or is that an extra? Do they get washed?
We can.
Rain washes.
Rain washes,
Rain washes,
yes, Mother Nature takes
They
care
do as
of
much
that.
as they can, but when they went down from 2 full-time custodians here to now 2 part-time custodians, they do not have enough time to do everything that needs to be done. There's just not enough time.
Are you saying they don't do windows?
Just what they can reach. I actually have had them come and power wash them with hose from, not them, the department came and did that for me a couple times.
We don't want people seeing it.
Maybe these are,
It's a time,
Tanya has a tarp over her.
maybe we should address some of these issues, maybe we should address some of these issues in buildings and grounds.
Yeah, this would be
and
good
see if we
spring,
can-
spring work
Yeah.
only, yes.
And she had even gone so far as to obtain a couple quotes on, they'd like to steam clean these carpets, these new carpets they've had in industrial carpeting. And she got a quote from Stanley Steamer and another one from Kellogg. Kellogg Carpet, $850, $700.
Is this money in her budget?
No, I asked her that. So
It's not in her budget.
she does not have, no contractual money for this, no. But again, we went to the time and effort putting this new carpeting in, and if it don't get maintained, it's going to ruin it, so.
same in this building. We had first originally thought to do it once a year, but now it's looking we get it done every 4 or 5 years.
Kind of like putting in parts and not having anybody mow the lawn.
This is true. But anyway, I told her I'd bring it up and, communicate with you guys. She also asked about the installation of a people counter, and it's something that'll count the number of people that come in and out of the building.
What do they do? Just a question. The people sitting behind the desk, what do they do?
Well, let me tell you, they
I
do,
mean, God, they can't.
they do weeding, which is, taking old books out and putting new books in. They do ordering supplies. They do vouchers. They do check ice pack, process borrowing and lending. They process books, process magazines, run in mail overdues, box ILLs, I don't know what that means, process movies, box adult, juvenile, and movie collections, prepare books, movie CDs, post office, mail books. Mondays they pick up the mail, check and get ready for the volunteers. They have a set of volunteers that work, that help in the library. Yes, they coordinate that and work with them. But that's what they do.
They have a full-time person and part-time person, and they're pretty maxed out.
So it would appear.
They also take books that people haven't used for a number of times. They take them out of the library, take them and put them, is it down cellar?
That was the
I'm just
one.
thinking this is a nice list, but if the Armory gives us a list like this, and Tanya gives me a list like this, and, it's great, because I can mark a million things, but, this could be interesting.
Well, we just have to prioritize it, can't do everything all the time. What are the most important things that we have to do?
Well, I think part of our problem is we really don't have many job descriptions for people.
Yes, you're correct.
And I think we need to, and then we will know what they do. And we can estimate the hours involved
Okay.
and get a handle on what we're spending our money for.
We'll take this and give it to Bill.
I didn't mean to stretch it, Dave. She has the people counter.
Preferably after the water comes.
Yeah.
She has the people counter. She needs somebody to install it.
Somebody to install it.
She needs an installer, and I thought maybe some Paul Burns could help her. And I,
There's 2 of them, one for each door.
one for each door. They also have an issue with the alarm system, and there's 2 phone lines, I guess, or 2 phone lines, and then a phone and a fax, and then this alarm circuit. And whenever they go to send a fax, it tells the alarm company that there's something wrong in the building. And she
Who
was,
installed it?
it was part of the contract when they overhauled the library. When they did the upgrade, when they put the new addition on.
How long ago was that?
3, 4 years, 3, 4
Longer
years
than that, I
now.
think now.
Is it longer? But at any rate,
If they have a system though, it should be inspected every year, just like we have to do.
but the issue is the phone. The issue is taking the alarm to the alarm company. I had mentioned to her that how on all our pump stations at water sewer, we have a dialer and an automatic, you know, it's wireless kind of a deal. I didn't know, maybe we could piggyback something to handle the alarm traffic on one of those. So I was going to ask Tracy about that. But that's pretty much it for what they had talked about.
Fax sets the alarm.
When they send a fax, it sets the alarm off. And again, it's
Well,
digital.
that's because they're on the same line.
They're on the
So
same line.
they need to remove the fax from that line.
Who set it up? We don't know.
My alarm system's on my restaurant line, it's always had,
I asked her to go to Bridgepoint. We changed all our phone services over to Bridgepoint last year to try to save some money, and I mentioned to her to talk to the engineer that installs from Bridgepoint
Yeah.
and tell him her situation, and maybe he could resolve it, you know, without paying anybody additional.
Are
So,
their phones done by Bridgepoint?
yes.
Yes.
Did they have the issue before Bridgepoint put phones in?
You can answer that. I didn't ask that question.
well, when I call Bridgepoint, the answer would be no.
I would put it on their back. I mean, we're, you know, we have
If
this
the-
power,
if
can you
the-
help us, you know?
If the problem wasn't there before Bridgepoint changed the phone service, I would be looking at Bridgepoint.
Yeah.
Right on.
I'll follow up with her, I'll talk to her about it, get some more information.
It's pretty strange.
We do have a resignation, and it's from Linda Drinkwine, 29 Divine Street, Ticonderoga, to the Ticonderoga Town Board. Your board members, I would like to officially inform you that I will be resigning my position as library aide at the Blackwash Memorial Library effective June 13, 2014. Sincerely, Linda Drinkwine. And Linda has worked there faithfully for 13 years, and I would move that we accept it with regrets.
One second time.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. She will be missed, for sure.
Yeah, letter.
Is that the original?
I believe it. That's what they gave me at the meeting.
It must be handed in to William to stamp.
That's all I had for library.
Insurance,
Nothing to report.
contract negotiations. We are waiting to hear from the Water Sewer Union, their representatives. We contacted them in February and have not heard anything back. We also forwarded to them the proposed substance abuse testing policies and have not heard back from them. One thing, well, that'll come later. Okay. We'll go to report of department heads. The attorney has gone to take care of his husbandly duties, and we will entertain Chief Johns.
Okay, can I do two resignations at the same time, or separately? Okay, I do have two resignations from full-time officers that I would like the board to consider accepting. The first one comes from Investigator Daniel France, requesting to resign his position as of April 21st, 2014. He has accepted a position with the Warren County Sheriff's Department, and we are very sad to see him go after his 10 years and 1 month of service that he spent with the County Ticonderoga.
So we move we accept his resignation? I move it.
I'll second.
Second. Moved and seconded, with regret. He will be
Yes.
missed.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, the second one is Sergeant Michael LaValle is requesting to resign his position effective April 28, 2014. Him and Investigator LaFrance came to work on the same day, and they're resigning on the same day after 10 years and 1 month in service. But Sergeant Valley is also accepting a position with the Warren County Sheriff's Department, and we are very sad to leave both of these experienced members of our department and the entire command staff of our department to explore those opportunities. But I would ask that you accept Sergeant Valley's resignation.
I'll make that motion with regret.
Second.
Any other discussion? Should we send a note to Warren County? Ask them if they can look to the south.
Yeah.
Do we vote yet?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, the next request I have is authorization for the town clerk to advertise for lateral transfers, those officers being fully trained police officers in the state of New York for full-time vacancies in the police department. I would also like to save a little money on the advertising. Recently, my part-time staff, sources available within the part-time staff have been dwindling and not as available as they have been. Since we're advertising for these full-time positions, I would also ask that we just include that we are also accepting part-time applications, just so I can have a pool of applicants to pull from if down the road we decide that we would like to replace or add to one of our current part-time officers or add to our staff part-time officers. But if I could get an advertisement in the paper for full-time vacancies and part-time positions.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Obviously, we need the help.
Yeah, Chief, is it reflective on the pay schedule? I mean, is there any particular reason that they're retirement?
The town really, these two officers are looking toward the final 10 years of their career, and unfortunately, the town is a great place to work. We built these officers up and gave them a great experience, why they're such good candidates and being adopted by the other agency. But the town, with our limited means, just can't compete with the salary and benefit package. Mostly the retirement health benefits is what these men with families are actually looking at.
I see. Thank you. That's all I got.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And the last one, I'm not sure if this requires a board resolution, but it wouldn't hurt. The Essex County Department of Personnel already has scheduled a promotional exam for Deputy Sheriff Sergeant. It's the same test that they give to police departments for a sergeant promotion. The exam is dated on June 7th, and applications are due by May 5th. I'm not sure if there's any way if we ask for it at such a late date, if we could get on that list and get a posting down here to have our officers eligible to take that test for promotion to sergeant.
How long do you have before you have to put a sergeant in place?
There's no time frame, but really at this point, we went from having 3 supervisors to having me, where there really should be an extra layer of supervision within the department, just for cohesiveness for times, say, I'm out of town, or when there's major incidents, there should be multiple sources that patrolmen should be able to do the call upon.
Yeah, and that's, usually they review your risk management by some of the accreditation agencies. That's one of the biggest things they get you for is failure to supervise. That's one of the things that is very important. It took a long time to get that position, get it in place, and it's worked well.
So they come here and do that?
No, our officers would go to Elizabethtown or wherever the county is sponsoring that test, and they would take the examination on normally Saturday morning.
It's just 5 years experience, right? As a police officer?
Different departments of civil service have different criteria. Some agencies it's 2 years, some agencies it's 5 years. I'm really not sure what the Essex County criteria is.
Pretty sure it's 5, yeah.
Do you have officers with 5 years?
Yes.
We will look into that and see if we can make that happen. Does it take a resolution? Do you know? I'll contact the county tomorrow and find out.
Okay, if we could contact the county and see if we could get
Absolutely.
that posted and get our officers up there taking that test.
Are you in town tomorrow?
Yes, I am.
Why don't you check with me mid-morning and make sure that I don't need a...
There's no list right
to
now.
get it done.
There's no,
We don't have a current
Yeah.
list.
Try to come in quietly, I'll be napping.
Yes.
You usually have one of your supervisors cover, like say, one in the daytime and one at night. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes. So actually, you don't have one to cover one way or the other right now.
Right, really, because the sergeant position is our nighttime supervisor, but also acts as a second officer at night for officer safety functions. What we're going to lose in the short term is we're not going to have any supervision during the day. I'm going to have to transfer my shift over to evening and overnight shifts for that position until we get our staffing up to real speed again.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is our clerk.
Every year, the chamber hosts the car show, which everybody knows about that. Usually, the town in past practice has waived the peddler's permit fee because they do it as like a joint thing for the town and our part. So he is asking again this year if we can pass a resolution to waive the peddler's permit fee for the car show vendors. It's up to you guys.
how was the damage? How much damage was done last year? Bad day?
For the car show, I don't think it was damaged, because they really pay attention to it, and they don't care if they're cars.
I guess at some point we need to look at all this. I mean, we need to get some equity. I mean, we're saying everybody with a water unit should pay their water, everybody should do this, but then we keep saying you people all from wherever you're from can come in for free, and all the 4th of July people can come in for free. And we need to look at this. This needs to be, because there's expenses in the park. We have to put out cans, we have to pick up trash, there's a lot of expenses with these different things, so it is a past practice, it has been done in the past. At some point, we're gonna have to say, okay, guys, starting 2015, these people are gonna pay. And let everybody, if it's a reduced, that's fine, but if they pay $25, all of them, then you've got some money going towards your beautification crew to do this work.
What is the peddler's fee amount to?
$50
Per,
it's for a week
per
per vendor.
Yeah.
This is for not the cars coming in, this is for the
People selling
snack
food,
shacks, the t-shirts.
That stuff, not the car people.
We do charge the 4th of July peddlers to pay that now, because we didn't for many years.
Mhm.
4th of July does pay it.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
Yes.
they do a lot of construction.
I haven't brought this up for the Street Fest. We usually waive the fee for the vendors there, because it's,
Street Fest is usually local vendors. It's the KSC, I understand that, okay? I don't know, we just have to talk about it, think about it, because there are costs involved.
When does this take place? August?
August, yeah. First week of
first
August.
weekend in August. 3rd and 4th, I think, this year.
I'd like to table that for now
Okay.
and bring it up in the next meeting. Give the newbies a little chance to do some homework and
Absolutely.
form an opinion.
Okay.
Does the Chamber of Commerce, Matt asked for this, that came from right away the Chamber?
Yes. And it has been past practice. Well, I've been asking every year for, we need to do something about that.
We've had this conversation quite a bit of time,
Well, I'm sure they're going to come back with the statement that it brings a lot of money into the community and all of that. But the side I'm looking at is it brings a lot of money into the community for some people. And everybody seems to be opposed to any tax increase, and it takes taxes to pay the people that clean up the mess. So we may need to take a serious look at it.
We're not making a profit, we're trying to offset expense, that's all.
Exactly.
Okay, I'll tell them that we're gonna renew it some more.
And Matt can be with us when we, I don't mind sitting down and talking to Matt too, like, this is what it costs us to do this.
Have we ever captured that number though, in terms of like the garbage? I know that they pick it up and they take it to the transfer station, it's weighed. I mean,
We can, because
that number.
Carla has the records.
I would think we could.
Overtime and everything for those different periods that that's going on.
Tim has always kept track of that and given me a separate thing for it, for the 4th of July, for
Good.
this weekend. He always does it, so. The other thing that I have is that you now have in front of you the emergency squad, Thai emergency squad agreement. If you guys are pretty satisfied with that, because I guess both attorneys have looked at it, we can schedule the public hearing for this for the next town board meeting and get it done so that we get.
Do we need a resolution?
You need a resolution to schedule the public hearing for 6 o'clock on May, whatever our next board meeting is.
Moved by Mr. Huntsman, we have a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Uliano. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And there's some interfund advances, are you going to do that, Bill? Or do you want me just to run through that?
So that'd be, I'm sorry, that'll be May 8th in our regular public,
September.
that'll be the public hearing on the emergencies.
At 6 o'clock.
That's when the board meeting starts.
Yeah, but that's why we do that, so we don't have, yeah. There's also a interfund advances for the general municipal law 9A to be adopted for this abstract for 2014 from general to John Street Sewer Stormwater Separation Project CD 17 for $6,339.99. Funds will be reimbursed with grant monies. The second one is from general to Shore Airport Water District SW09, $11,407.07, and funds will be reimbursed with grants.
I'll move that.
Second.
Moved in second, we have any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Okay. Under miscellaneous information, I need a resolution authorizing Amy Quisnell to conduct the petty cash audits for the town.
I'll make that resolution.
Moved by Mr. Huntsman, we have a second.
Second.
Second by Chatty. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You have we're going to continue the discussion on the non-CDL and DOT-covered employees for the alcohol and substance abuse. You've had a chance to look over those proposed testing policies. I can tell you that it's a $7 difference between a 5-panel test and a 10-panel test, which to me
No-brainer.
is a no-brainer.
Yeah,
It's a
exactly.
10-panel
I agree.
test.
10-panel test.
We have not heard back from the unions at this point in time. So I'm going to, I would suggest we have a discussion with the attorney to see, and our negotiations expert to see where we go with that. I believe we can adopt them, and the unions can argue. But I distinctly feel that we need to get them in place. unnecessary evil in today's society. Kind of too bad, but
I'll
that's
make
the way
a
it is.
resolution that we take them from 5 to, oh, no, I'm
But
sorry.
no, not yet.
Okay.
The other thing I'd like to do is to, does anyone have any preference as to the disciplinary actions as they're stated in the proposed test?
Zero tolerance?
Be it zero tolerance, or you can change that any way you want.
It's-
My preference is zero tolerance. A guy shows up for work drunk, he's down the road. Guy shows up for work on drugs, he's down the road.
Is it DOT zero tolerance in it?
No, you have the ability to notify that.
I know some of them have a waiver in there to where if they accept the, what do you want, to get clean, they
If
don't,
they take a rehabilitation program and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
You can throw all that stuff in there and give them 47 chances if you want.
Well-
My opinion of it is, if someone comes to work drunk or high, they're gonna hurt themselves or more likely me, and I don't wanna work around them.
that's it, in my opinion.
Now, is this going to be added to the personnel policy?
Absolutely.
Okay. And is the contract silent on it?
And the contracts it will also be entered into the contracts with
Side agreement? too?
a side agreement.
Okay.
To add to that, what about anger management?
You need to offer the floor to.
Got your courtesy.
We really can't discuss it at this time.
Yeah.
Anyone have any preferences as to?
I think the 10-panel test needs to happen for sure.
Yeah.
Without a
Yeah.
doubt. And then,
Well, like I said,
I think proceed with the guidance given by our labor negotiator. You know, in terms of how you get there. I mean,
It's not, well, the,
You're suggesting anything less than zero tolerance?
no.
Okay.
Me either.
okay, so we're going to stay with the zero tolerance.
right.
Fred, you okay with that?
Everybody in agreement with that?
Okay.
Then I will contact
Yes.
our labor management specialist and get the procedure that since we haven't heard from the unions, we'll get the procedures that we should take to get these instituted into place.
The other thing I would say on that is if they're non-prescribed. If they're prescribed, they either, if it's too strong, they shouldn't be working. If it's,
Well, that's covered.
okay, that's what I was.
This would be drugs that you don't have a prescription for.
Right.
We have received the APA permit for the lower gooseneck transmission main, which is a big step forward. I wanted to make everybody aware of that. It was a very smooth process. Not exactly sure why, but we'll accept it.
But we won't question it.
We'll accept it and say thank you. The latest issue of the staffing chart is out. If anyone has comments, questions, or suggestions, please see me tomorrow, and we'll discuss it. Get the petty cash on it, EMS contract. Okay. The last item that I have is on the Adirondack Initiative. That's a resolution that was passed about a year and a half ago by this board, the previous board, in regards to inequities in property tax brought about by the formation of the Adirondack Park. I don't know if you all remember it or not. Chatty actually carried it to Lake Placid yesterday. And how'd you make, did anybody have any questions or comments?
Oh, I probably talked to 5 or 6 people.
Uh-huh.
And no, there were a lot of things going on, and there weren't there weren't a lot of questions. A couple of people from Old Forge were, they were very interested. Handed it to, talked with 2 people from Scroon Lake. So they were interested, but it, you know, I really gave them, I don't know, if I had extra copies.
Just kind of,
Everybody would like those. So I think that it was received with interest, but, there's another one.
okay, one thing I did do was when the APA and AATV sent out a notice for Wednesday and Thursday's meeting, it was emailed to me, and it came with the complete membership list and email addresses for the entire membership of the Adirondack Association of Towns and Villages. Oops. I emailed every one of them a copy of the Adirondack Initiative. It went to the offices of the Adirondack Association of Towns and Villages, and they emailed me back immediately, congratulating me from going as, from being in the position of a school board member to town supervisor, and informed me that I was now in a position that I could actually bring this resolution to them, which they wouldn't let me do last year because I was a school board member and not a town board member. And what I would like to do at this point is to have this town board renew or do this resolution again, do another resolution in support of this Adirondack initiative again, and direct that it go to the association, the Adirondack Association of Towns and Villages, for consideration for adoption and to become part of their legislative program to be taken to the governor and the legislature under their cover,
So moved.
under those.
Yeah, I'll move that.
Thank you.
Second.
A second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
That's a good idea.
Right. So that group would be the same, they would include,
They will be another sponsor, all of them,
Be a strong sponsor.
a huge sponsor.
Yeah.
and so are we missing anybody? Is there anybody else that, now all of the towns aren't necessarily a member of that, or?
There may be school districts that are, and I'm going to lean on Mr. McDonald to start gathering up the balance of them. Right now, last count that I had discussions with John, which was some time ago, we were at 40-plus supporting petitions. Okay, this is, if we get the petition from the Association of Towns and Villages, that is hundreds. With a click of a key. Love it.
So there's a, what, 103 member towns, is that it? Something like that?
Something like that. And there are nearly as many school
For
districts.
Adirondack, this is just the Adirondack.
Association of Towns is huge, but you're talking about.
Adirondack
Yeah,
Association,
okay.
Grand Towers, and that group, not the Association of Towns, Adirondack Association.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Bill, how often do they ever do anything in the county, like resolutions requesting more aid to local governments? I mean, is that something that can be done?
I brought this resolution to the county again, and there are some of the counties that believe Governor Cuomo is doing much more than any other governor has done in regards to the Adirondack Park in recent history, which I don't argue with. And they took offense at the fact that the resolution lists the Adirondack Park as a playground. They thought that was kind of demeaning. And I pointed out to the people that felt that way that was the governor's words, not ours. Which seem to calm that emotion, but they still aren't, some aren't fully supportive of what we want to do for fear of offending the governor. I'm not one of those, but we're working on it.
No, but the thing of it is, because of the stifling influence of the park and the park agency, I mean, we can't build enough economy to support ourselves.
Exactly.
Our infrastructure's going away, our water, sewer infrastructure, our roads.
Our ability to develop is gone.
And if you could just, if it was something maybe worded a little differently, but just say, look, we need more help to keep the ship afloat in the off-season, so it's here when they do want to come and.
That's
enjoy the place,
exactly, if you read that resolution, that's exactly what it does.
Okay.
We're not trying to pick a fight with the governor or the legislature. We just want them to help pay for the playground.
Yeah.
If you're going to use a playground, you got to help pay for it. It's just like charging vendors in the park down here. If you're going to use it, you got to help pay for
Get
it.
out of that past practice.
Exactly. Come look at all the pretty leaves you want, but don't make the person in that town pay for putting those leaves on the trees, and that's what they're doing with the 480 exemptions and ridiculous, Rogers Rock campsite assessed at less money than some of the residences around it. It's crazy. So, we have an opportunity to be heard, for the public to be heard.
Just on this last topic, Bill, it seems like, they call it a playground, but it seems like they restrict us from playing on it. They want to restrict play. You've got all sorts of, this wilderness and wild forest designation, out there with the boating, the Lake George Park Commission, they want to have gates. So it seems like they're restricting our use of our natural resources. So that's all I wanted to say on that.
Yeah. It's a point well taken. Point well taken. Our land, their ball. Does anybody have any further business they'd like to bring before the board tonight? I don't think we have any need for executive session. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I didn't think so.